Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today I'm reviewing one from Scout Comics, or the Black Caravan imprint, to be precise. And it's also, just to make it more interesting, it's one of their non-stop ones. They used to have a different name for it. I've forgotten what it was. But it's basically the idea that you buy issue 1, and then what Scout usually does is they'll give you a good few months to wait for issue 2, which means comic book stores don't end up ordering issue 2 just on spec. They actually, get a good idea if people like it, if people are going to want to carry on reading it. This version, though, is just you read issue 1, and then a few months later, the entire thing drops as one trade paperback, and you get the entire thing in one book, which is a really cool way of doing things. They've done it very successfully with Metal Shark Bro and Tart, off the top of my head, which are ones that we do quite well with. And I like the idea that it's not going to leave comic book stores out there on a limb. Now, this is not a criticism of the non-stop thing, but I do also like the idea of just collecting comics on a monthly basis. So maybe that's why it's not been as hugely successful. It's kind of like we think if Marvel or DC did, it'd be really well received. But it's an odd thing to expect people to fork out money for like £14-15 for an indie one they may not have read much of and don't know about the company. But they're doing it, and I like it. And as a bookshop owner, a comic book shop owner, it works quite nicely. But we're not mainly talking about that. We're talking about the individual comic book here. Created by, I believe, a husband and wife team, dealing with a theologian who also deals with matters of ancient gods for some reason. It's split into two. The first half is about him going off and dealing with some ancient Greek gods. The second half is the origin, about his life before all that. And first thing I want to say, I like the split. Page 1 of the back of the more current story, that is full on over the top, almost Lovecraftian weirdness going on there, and I like it. In fact, the art style stays really over the top. The computer coloring mixes in like a really odd eldritch green with the yellows and browns of Egypt. When you actually get to shots of the gods, they are full of pomp and over the top. They're brilliant. There is conflict, there is action, there is drama, and it's all to the good. It really, really works quite nicely as just an intro story where it throws people into the action. Reminds me of some stories I've done myself, where I feel like the longer you leave it before something exciting happens, it's kind of like the longer you're expecting your readers just to go along with your idea. And then they do the bit at the end, which is a much more basic standard of artwork. Not to say bad, I actually really, really like it. It reminds me a lot of some early Avatar stuff. And yeah, it's kind of nice, more grounded, earthy colors, and it's a more grounded, earthy story. It's a professor with a son who's a bit of a dick, who basically uses emotional blackmail to get his way, and then goes and overdoses on methamphetamine. So yeah, it's definitely down to earth, but it's also really quite grim. And the coloring and the art style really, really supports that quite nicely as well. The main thing that I actually really did like about this bit was the characterization. Yes, the kid who's a bit of a dick was very simply wrote. He only had like half a dozen lines in the entire thing. His passing is like a catalyst for something else. Like it's not the most important thing on it. Yeah, I think maybe sold it a little bit short. But when you're trying to get to somewhere and you've only got like a dozen pages, you don't want to spend all of that dealing with somebody who's pretty much only existence in the comic book is to die. So what they deal with for the most part is the father. A little bit of like the family members as well, which is nice. But for the most part, we're dealing with the Shepard himself, who Shepard's soul's on, as it turns out. And you get a genuine sense of belief in the character. He comes across as very authentic and flawed, which is always kind of nice. You don't like the idea of somebody being in a comic book who's a paragon of, well, whatever it is they're a paragon of, be it Truth, Justice, American Way, or just being a good dad or a good lecturer. It's somebody who kind of admits their own faults and is willing to accept that they have less control in their life than they'd like. They willingly give up control, in fact, to make life a little bit easy for themselves, which is a very human thing to do. And it's that character which kind of drives the thing. Putting this story after the big action one kind of makes you wonder what the hell's going to happen to his life between these 2 points, because obviously something major has happened, and we've got a few issues left to come in when they do the non-stop trade paperback thing later on, and I am interested to see where it goes, but I'm not thrilled with it. Yes, it's got some cool action excitement, it's got some cool artwork, it's got a nice grounded story at the end, but I can't help but feel that it was kind of trying a bit too hard to go in totally separate directions. Like there was so much effort put into being here is over the top computer artwork, huge fight scene. Here is an awful lot of time where we're going to spend just people artwork on people sat around in chairs talking. It feels like that shift was, I mean, clearly done. It's a choice. Can't really deny it. This was clearly part of what they were trying to do in terms of story setup. But for me, it just felt like they could have married them just ever so slightly better. Not a massive criticism, but also it's not the most amazing comic I've ever read either. A very solid middle of the road. If the subject matter interests you, it's a good looking version of it. But just the concept itself didn't really grab me too much either, I'm afraid. Anyway, that's it from me. There's probably not going to be anything else now until next Tuesday. Hopefully we'll get a regular delivery then, and I'll actually have way more stuff to review. Expect like double up reviews maybe on the days when we've got all this stuff coming in. But I might not even be back on Friday. There's so little comic book stuff arrived. I think I've done all the posting and invoicing I really need to do. I've got nothing else waiting, pending. So I might just spend the rest of my week at home playing video games and reading comic books. You know, such is life in lockdown version 3. Take it easy. Stay safe. Bye.